Hello, my name is Patricia Carvalho. I'm from Brazil. I'm a dental surgeon as a profession, and since 30 years, I'm practicing meditation and investing time in self-understanding and self-realization through Brahma Kumaris. I've been having the opportunity to be in London, to be also in India, the international headquarters of Brahma Kumaris. And it's a big pleasure to be with you. I would like to thank especially the Wembley Inner Space team for this invitation to be with you, to share a little bit of my experience, my thoughts, my discoveries on this topic, which I feel it's such a deep topic, which speaks about love and bondage and freedom. And I usually like to apologize for any mistakes in my English, because English is not my mother tongue. I speak Portuguese, and anyway, I hope you can understand the essence of this experience that I'm going to share with you today. So one of the nice things about being asked to share about one specific point is that it gives us the opportunity to really go deep and listen and research and think and explore a little bit more. And one of the things that I'm being kind of observing, I think that this pandemic, this coronavirus situation, has challenged us in many different ways. And if from one side we can feel that humanity have been losing a lot, I'm sure that we have been also learning a lot, and especially kind of entering and discovering different sides of ourselves. And so one of the things I'm observing is that somehow this kind of fast response to this situation that one can see is that somehow if you haven't cultivated an inner state, which is based, let's say, in spiritual values, in this positive energy, and somehow you feel yourself deprived of so many stimulations that life used to offer to us before, like socialization and being with people. And anyway, many times what you can face is this feeling of emptiness. And even if you are not aware of this emptiness, and I believe that majority of people are not really aware of the emptiness, but they can experience the result of the emptiness, which comes in different forms. For instance, a kind of reaction or overreaction to situations. So what we can witness these days is that anger and rage are kind of increasing a lot, and somehow people, they feel that this anger is justified. So it's like if they are justifying their anger. And as a result of this anger, I think that many people are kind of mistreating each other. Another thing that we can see as a symptom of this pandemia is this over-individualism. It's like people are really just looking to themselves. And instead of having more empathy or cooperation, they are really kind of taking care of their own personal needs, and many times limited needs, not really paying attention in the other. And I think that all of these symptoms, many other symptoms, you could really make a list, but it's not my intention. I'm here to speak about love. And I'm sure that all of you are very much aware of these things, if not through the media, through your own experience. You know, when you go out in the streets and you meet people, and I mean, there is a different behavior. There is something different in the air, in the sense of how people are connecting to each other. And I believe that it's all because of this huge emptiness inside. And why I'm speaking about this to you? Because I believe that love is exactly the opposite. I believe that love is a natural result of a state of fulfillment, of being full, of fullness. And somehow we have been disconnected from this state of fullness. So yeah, love doesn't have nothing to do with an emotion, or let's say something that you experience for one specific person in one specific situation. But love is a state that really does not depend on whom is in front of you, or in which situation are you in, or in which moment of your life are you in. It's like you don't choose whom to love. Love is there all the time, overflowing as a natural result of a state of fulfillment. And I really believe that there was one time in our existence, and when I speak about existence, I'm considering eternity. I'm not considering the existence of the last I don't know, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. But I really believe that the being is an energy. And as an energy, the being is eternal. And so in this eternal existence, there was a time in which we experienced this state of fullness, this state in which we were complete, this state in which we were overflowing, this state in which we were like gods on earth. No, it's like divine, perfect. And this time left imprinted in our soul a memory. And this memory is what determines our search for that state of fullness again. And it seems to me that we are always looking for it through everything we do, through our relationships, through our work, through our belongings, possessions, trips, whatever we see, whatever we do. It's like if we are always looking for that state of fullness, which is imprinted there, that once we have experienced, that's for sure. And this by itself shows us our state of emptiness. From one side, it's a memory and it's very vivid inside ourselves. On the other side, there is this contrast, this huge contrast between what we feel we could live and what in reality we live. And here I'm not speaking about something for us to believe, for us to understand, for us to try to conceptualize, but I'm really speaking about something that we feel deep inside and somehow we know it's true. No, even if this state of fullness is something which seems to majority of the people in the world a kind of a mirage, an illusion, something impossible to reach. It's like there is something inside of us that say, go for it. No, it is possible. you will be able to get it. And it's this strength that makes us move again and again towards this state. So what we can say is that this state of love, and when I'm speaking about love here, I'm speaking about this state of overflowing. You know, it's like if your being is so full that you are overflowing this fullness, that you are just available to share your energy, the best of you, your happiness, your peace, your power, with all forms of life around you, not even just human beings, but nature, environment, matter, your own body, whatever it is which is part of this amazing thing that it's life, you know? And so this state of overflowing, it's like an innate quality of the being. You know, I remember once I was giving a course here in Brazil, and there was this nurse which was part of the audience. And she gave a very interesting example of love as a kind of innate state, in the sense that no one teaches you to love. It's not necessary to teach. Somehow we already start our life, we are born with that imprint, with that impression. And she was this nurse that she used to work in a hospital, in a sector of the hospital where they would have the babies who were premature. So they were born before the 9 months, and they were kept in a special place. And she was sharing, I mean, of course, everything is monitored when a baby is in that condition. So the beats of the heart and the breathing, and she was sharing how interesting it was to see that when the mother would put her hands on the little baby, you know, probably the baby was like, you know, such a small body, a small being. But when the mother would put the hands and kind of, she could see that the heartbeats were going very high and intense. And when the nurses were going to do the same, though they were very careful and very aware of the fragility of that baby, it was not the same response from their heart and the breathing. And so she was saying that little baby already knew what was the touching of love. And it could differentiate between the love of the mother and the care of the nurse. So this proves to us somehow, or at least demonstrates, how much love is really this natural, innate state. No one teaches you, but you recognize, you know it. You have it inside yourself. And what happened actually is that though our natural state is a state of openness, of being available, of belonging, of sharing, of closeness to each other. Well, that is our natural state. That is the base of human society, let's say. So though that is our inner state, somehow we came so far from this experience. And it is like if that love is closed inside ourselves somewhere, and we really don't have access to that state anymore. And instead of that, what we started to do is that we started to project this love, which is ours, which is inside of ourselves, which is part of our original being, which is an innate quality. Instead of reaching that state and kind of releasing it, we started to project that experience outside. And I believe that in the past, probably people started to project it first in God himself. And that's how all this system of praise of God and looking for fullness in God has started. It's like you projected this sacred state in a sacred being, but outside. And we started to wait, to expect for that feeling to come from outside to inside. And then after that, I believe that we started to project this in other people, we started to project this in our own body, roles, this state of fullness, this state of satisfaction. And there is one teacher in Brahma Kumaris, and he's a specialist in this topic of love. His name is Charlie Hogue. He coordinates Brahma Kumaris in Australia. And he says that what happens is that when we started to love other people, for instance, you developed a feeling of attachment. And when you develop and you have love and you start to love your own body, you develop a feeling of ego, for instance. And so he says that all these experiences like ego, arrogance, and attachment, and lust, and all these experiences are somehow a perverted love, or a feeling of love in a perverted way. But actually what you are doing is that we are looking for that original state. And I feel it's quite deep and interesting, this concept. But then what is the consequence of cultivating this perverted love? And the result of it, from one side, is that it does not fill us. It does not give you back that feeling of being full. On the contrary, it develops a level of dependency, a little bit like a drug, It's like if people, they use a certain drug looking for a certain state of consciousness, but they don't really do the proper work for that. That will have a temporary duration, but that does not build up anything inside. And so as a result, people become dependent of that external agent to be able to find that same level of experience. And what happens with the drugs is that every time you need a kind of stronger dose to give you a little bit less of the same experience. And somehow that's what happened with human beings in terms of all these kind of spiritual vices, or which is lust, which is attachment, which is dependence, which is ego, which is greed, and whatever, just kind of trying to get that state of fullness using something which is external. Because the law, in terms of everything which is external, the law is that it's always moving, it's dynamic, things are not static. And so you cannot really kind of have them. And because they're always in this movement, that experience is always temporary. You cannot really grasp it and stay and control. You are not under, you cannot control that experience. And because it's temporary and because it's all the time changing, constant change, it gives you a huge feeling of insecurity. And because it gives you a feeling of insecurity, it gives you also fear. You are always fearful of losing the object that gives you an illusion of fulfillment. And because of this fear, what we did is that we closed our hearts, we locked our hearts. And because we closed our hearts, we disconnected. So what we ended up experiencing is a feeling of disconnection and kind of mistrust and kind of not really feeling that you belong. And then there is always this feeling of manipulation, like people start to do these games, let's say, if you respect me, I respect you, if you give me love, I give you love. So we started to see ourselves in all these games of control and manipulation. And this state of dependency made us really lose our freedom to just be ourselves. And it's like if you have a specific company, you are going to be happy, but if by the way you lose that company, then you lose that state of happiness. And somehow all the experience of life is so unstable, and at the same time it's so tiring to live in such a state where you are empty and all the time in a game trying to get what you want, having to be someone that you are not, just to kind of feel that you belong and to please others. And at the end of the day, your heart is so closed that you don't trust anyone completely. And that's a little bit the experience that we see in the society nowadays. And that's why I feel that the topic of this lecture is so important for us to really understand what is our condition. Because whenever we depend on something external or someone, we develop this huge feeling of expectation. So like if from one side, we feel that we should be us in a certain way to be accepted, on the other side, we kind of expect that people should behave in a certain way to be worthy of our love, And so we also expect from others. And actually what happens is that every person is an individual. It's a kind of completely different formula. And that's the beauty of life, to be able to express that unique role in a very unique way. The variety of the human family is really something that it's amazing. We could say it's the wonder of nature, that each one has a kind of specific way of being. And so how come that you are going to expect that someone will be in a certain way that somehow kind of fills up your expectation of that person? So what happens as a result of expectation is always disappointment, sooner or later, because people cannot sustain the game of appearances for a long time. At some point, kind of your own way is going to be stronger, or you are going to feel yourself suppressed, depressed, and whatever. And so this feeling of disappointed, which comes from this expectation, leads to a kind of frustration. In a certain point, people start to believe that really love is not something possible, that or then to justify your frustration, you might even justify it saying, love is for the weak ones, love is for, I don't know, like for the women, or love is for the innocent ones, or love is something kind of religious, or so many misinterpretations of it. But all of this is a result of this perverted love, as we say. And it has nothing to do with the real state of love. So anyway, we have spoken about dependency, and we spoke about lack of freedom and kind of bondage. But now, how to recover this state of real love? What should we do to be able to kind of share? Because also at the end of the day, that's what people need at this point. No, I think that we are kind of reaching a point in which what is needed is really to be able to share without conditions. And I think that all the difficulties that we are passing through somehow are shaking the status quo of the society, and it's a way of changing, you know? And I like to see things like that as well. It's not the negative side of all the challenges that we are having, but actually the opportunity, the invitation for kind of trying to see reality and life in a different way. And so it is an invitation for us to open our hearts and share, even if apparently the environment is not inviting very much for it. But to do this, we have to develop a deep, deep sense of self-esteem. And self-esteem is this deep, deep sense of my value, which does not have nothing to do with other people say, seeing me, and with their approval or not approval. It's just based in this recognition of my nature, of my original state, which is this state of fullness. And that is one of the roles of meditation in this sense. Because what is meditation? Is kind of a way to put yourself in contact with this essence of your being. It's an experience that is created from inside to the outside. When you meditate, many times you are alone, especially these days. No, sometimes I'm used to meditating in groups because, of course, the energy of group always helps. But these days we are even going beyond the limits of other people's kind of company for this. So you just need yourself to be kind of open, available, and to be really willing to do it, and then use your own thoughts as a kind of a way to open the pathway towards your inner being. You translate your thoughts in feelings. And these feelings, they have their own vibrations. So little by little, you are able to penetrate other levels of your own awareness until you come to the point in which you meet this original awareness, which is so pure, which is so full, which is so beautiful, and really full of peace, full of love, full of happiness, full of power. And then you develop this sense of your value based in what you are. You really are, no matter what happens, no matter what sometimes you even do, because sometimes we act based in other levels of awareness. Unfortunately, it's not always that we act based in this most elevated level of awareness. So yeah, you might have done something yesterday that says to you, you see, you are a very bad person. But when you have this self-respect, you know that, no, I have done it. Even from this elevated state of awareness, you are able to recognize what you do, which is not aligned, but that does not shake your sense of self-respect. And that's why you are able to recognize and you are able to change, because you kind of inject in that situation a new energy, a new vibration, which comes from this kind of amazing positive being that you are. So meditation means to cultivate this level of awareness, which is the most elevated, to come in contact, to be with yourself, to transform words which are so powerful, like love, peace, and happiness, in states of feeling, You are not just kind of thinking about it, but you are merging in it. And every time you merge, you emerge. It comes up and it becomes available in your personality. And every time it's going to be more possible that you are going to act based in that original state. So that is the art of meditation. It's really something amazing, necessary at this point. Because what also happens is that what we need to be able to deal with situations of life at this point are these qualities, like your talents, your skills, your knowledge, your intelligence are not enough, isn't it? It's like, okay, I can be a very intelligent person. I can be very well informed about all the things of the world. I can be very skilled in, I don't know, management, for instance, or dental practices. But this does not give me the capacity to build the level of challenge that a pandemic, for instance, brings to us. But then if I have this capacity of cultivate these qualities which are part of my being and I make them available, then yeah, I can use love, I can use peace, I can use happiness, I can use power, and I can bring benefit not just to myself, but even for those around me. So that is the practice of meditation, so essential. But here in Brahma Kumaris, we go a little bit further in this practice. Because what we practice is that we practice Raja Yoga meditation. And Raja Yoga is this capacity to connect your consciousness, your awareness with the consciousness of God, who exists, who is alive. If God was not alive, we would not really look for him so much desperately. Doesn't matter if someone is religious or not religious, at some point in their life, for sure, they are going to kind of claim for God. Somehow they are going to claim for this kind of bigger awareness. And what we do is that we connect with it. I mean, we can call it awareness, or we can call it as a kind of big heart, or we can call him as he is, like this supreme soul, this being, this being which is full all the time, who never oscillates. Imagine that God never has any minimum oscillation in this amazing, benevolent, and loving, and available energy, always flowing, like an ocean, like a sun. So what we do is that we connect ourselves through our thoughts, through our feelings, with this source. And staying in this connection, we just kind of take all this power and all this energy into us. And this really gives you this immediate experience of fulfillment and kind of a feeling of your own worthiness. You kind of feel yourself, this divine being. It's like if the energy of God awakens that part of yourself which is exactly like him, like God, likewise, as they say. And what also happens is that through the meditation, when we connect with our essence, we change our vibration, the quality of energy changes. And then we kind of come into God's field. And being in his field, we just have to be with him, remember him, stay with him, kind of impregnating our being with this amazing light. And then 1 second of this experience has a kind of a potential to imprint in yourself such newness. And as much as you kind of dive in this ocean, more and more you are going to feel yourself fulfilled. And when you feel yourself fulfilled in this way, you really don't depend anymore on anything or anyone. But as I said in the beginning, you start to be available. And more than this, when you develop this kind of intimacy with the source, you can become a kind of channel for this energy to spread all around in, in life, you know? Kind of embracing people around you. So you are not just spreading your own energy, but somehow you are a channel to spread God's energy. And that's the ultimate state of love. You know? That it's this state of love that shares God's love in the world around yourself. Of course, the life retributes. You know? Life starts to respond to this state. But that is another chapter, and could be another lecture even. I mean, how life responds and how life gives back this amazing energy. But it gives back when that's not our intention. Because one of the things also connected with love is that love has to be altruistic. Exactly because it comes from a state of fulfillment and fullness, I don't expect anything in return. I'm just kind of giving without even the thought of taking. Though many times, as a consequence, what is going to happen is that magic is going to be present in my life and in the life of people around me. So that's a little bit how I feel it's important to understand this topic of being loving and at the same time detach it. You know, we could say loving and free, you know, taking the title of our sharing today. So it's our challenge. How can we be completely loving and at the same time completely free? Free of any return, any expectation, anything. Because if we are not free, it's not love. If you are not free, it might be that perverted sides of love that creates in us so much illusion. You know, I think that one of the amazing things of spirituality is that it really brings to our life clarity, and we start to see clearly, not just see ourselves, but see and recognize all the traps of illusion. I mean, there are so many traps of illusion that we ourselves have created for us. I mean, sometimes these illusions are just habits that we have kind of developed in a state of perverted love to try to justify ourselves for our own failures. And because actually it does not give you success if you are living in these perverted sides of reality. And I think that spirituality really puts you in the track of reality so that you are able to reconnect with something which is consistent. Because what happens is that illusion, because it's an illusion, it's not consistent. And so, I mean, you can live your entire life in illusion, and at the end of your life, what you are going to face is the immense emptiness inside. But reality builds up. Reality starts to build up a kind of a state. So it's a completely different level of experience. But it is a choice that we have to make. And we have to challenge these habits. And I think that the ego makes everything very, very difficult. Because the ego tries to justify all the time, you know, ourselves, our behavior, our needs, and And so that's why spirituality is really a challenge to the ego, but we have to be intimate again with our inner being, which is subtle. And that's why it's tricky, because you have to really believe in something which is intangible, which is very subtle. It is there, it is real, but to reach that recognition, you already need a different mindset. So that's the challenge, of spirituality, and I think it's just amazing. It's like an adventure that one does inside yourself to discover different terrains and different levels and different sides of yourself, which are much more brighter and much more beautiful than the one we are used to, let's say, in the world of emptiness, like the world we are living nowadays. And also when we have this recognition, I believe that what it kind of awakens inside is this feeling of deep mercy, because we see the society, we see the people, we see our human family, and we feel that they are deprived of this experience. They are deprived of themselves, they are deprived of God's existence and the benevolent energy which is available. And so I believe that love is also this need, this kind of feeling that comes up to share. We want to share, we want to guide, we want to help, we want to clarify, we want to somehow accompany people in their own journey. And I believe that sharing is another consequence of a loving and open heart, true heart, which is based in this feeling of fulfillment. So what I would like to do now, just for us to finalize, is to have some minutes for us to experience in meditation. And I'm sure that after this lecture, you can connect with Wembley Image Space and clarify if you have any questions. I'm sure that if you want to clarify any question with me, you can send your questions and they will be very happy to bridge us. And once again, I'd like to thank you for your precious time during this pandemic time where there are so many options online, and to having spent this time with me. So meditation, as I said, is a very natural thing. So you just start sitting in a kind of awake state. We can keep our eyes open and fixed in one point, or if you prefer and if you feel more comfortable, just close them lightly. And we start breathing. We breathe in and allow the air to inflate our lungs. And we breathe out with presence. Again, we breathe in and out. And just feel this feeling of peace that starts to emerge from deep inside ourselves. I feel more light, free from the environment. And I have this recognition that this feeling of peace I'm experiencing comes from deep inside myself. It does not really depend in anything, anyone. This experience puts me in contact with an energy of love, power, happiness, which somehow already exists inside myself as well. And I start to vibrate in this frequency of these positive qualities and virtues. And I feel my awareness, my consciousness growing inside and reaching another dimension, a dimension of silence, quietness. I am energy. I am peace. And in this silence, this sweet silence, this spiritual silence, I am able to recognize the presence of God. He is also so subtle, but at the same time, so full, like a sun, a spiritual sun. And for some seconds, I just put myself under his benevolent light, as if I was having a samba, a spiritual samba. And I allow this light to penetrate deep inside my being, to purify me, to heal me, empower me, clean me, to love me. The love of the ocean of love awakens all the love which was hidden inside myself. And for some minutes, I just stay in silence, experiencing this connection, this fulfillment. And when I open my eyes, I just feel that this love is coming out through my eyes and is being spread in the entire environment around me. So for 1 minute, I stay sharing love, spreading love, donating love. from the ocean of love into the world with my beautiful human family. And then I come back and I become aware again of the physical environment where I am present at the moment. Please keep me the impression of this experience very vivid inside myself. Om Shanti. Om Shanti means I am a being of peace. It's an experience by itself. So I hope you have been able to enlighten and contribute with your journey. And again, thank you, life, for this experience, this opportunity to share with all of you. Om Shanti.